Namaskaram. Welcome to day 72 of the Safe Soil Journey. We were looking at a few practices like Bhastrika and Chanmukhi Mudra in the last few days. So I thought today we could explore about Jalaneti, which is especially very beneficial for clearing the nasal passages, and it uses salt water. So this practice always has amazed me, that how just using something as simple as salt water, it can be so effective, because we've taught this practice to so many people, and we got such reviews from them that so many things which they tried earlier, allopathic medicines, etc., and then didn't work, but just by doing this simple practice using salt water, they got so much relief, and over a short period of time. So it is very, very effective. It's a very powerful practice, especially if you are having any of these ailments, which are which is basically, like for example, asthma, allergies, sinus, migraine, headaches, anxiety, insomnia, or any respiratory diseases like bronchitis, asthma, pneumonia, or even hay fever, epilepsy. So any of these kind of ailments, if you've been having blocked nose, cold, cough, so any of these ailments which are related to the sinuses and the head region, if you've been having any of these ailments, then you should try and give Jalaneti a chance and see if you can do this practice for a period of time. So there's a certain pattern which needs to be followed if you're learning this practice. So once you do the program, then based on the condition, the teachers would be able to suggest the frequency of the practice, because depending on the severity, the frequency may need to be varied. So it's not something which is common for everyone, but this practice can also be done as a general practice for health and well-being. Before you start any hatha yoga practices in the day, you can first start with Jalaneti, which is like a cleansing practice. So this is one of the cleansing practices. So even if you're not having any of these ailments, this can be done like a preparatory step. It will be very effective, because if your breathing is restricted, if it's constricted, if the breathing is not happening freely, then a lot of things are impacted in your system, and it affects the overall health of your system. So it is very important that the breathing happens freely, unimpeded by any mucus or dirt, and the air can flow through the lungs easily. So having a having a clear sinus and well balanced fluids in the system, especially in the head region, can determine a lot of things about your well being, including your awareness, your sense of balance, your mental alertness, your sharpness of the five senses. All these things are determined by how well balanced the fluids are, especially in the head region, and keeping your sinuses well balanced is very important. So these practices like Jalaneti, or even if you have learned Shakti Chalana Kriya, they are very effective in balancing the sinuses, and especially Jalaneti is very effective in keeping the mucus levels under check in the system, to prevent excess mucus in the system. So there are ways in which allopathy does it, by drying up the fluids, but that is not very good for the system. So instead of that, if you do Jalaneti, it can help in reducing the mucus levels in the system, and at the same time not drying up the fluids completely. So we have seen people who had been on nasal sprays and so many other medicines in terms of what they had been taking to just get some relief from their blockages, nasal passage not being free, and allergies and sinusitis, migraine, etc. So we have seen a lot of people who have been just taking allopathic medicines and without much relief, but with just this simple practice and just doing adding some kriyas as well to it, like Shambhavi Mahamudra or Shakti Chalana Kriya or some Hatha Yoga practice along with it, they were able to very easily reverse this. So please see if you can give it a try. And those of you who have already been practicing Jalaneti, if you can share with us your experience, how it has been for you. what kind of ailments you were facing, if any, and how the practice of Jalaneti was able to help you, and what changes were you able to see after that, and how much time you took to see these changes. It would be nice to hear from you. So looking forward to hear from all of you. And this practice is one of the practices which just takes about 5 minutes to do on a daily basis. So you need not worry about the time in terms of how to make this happen in your schedule. You just have to do it consistently, and it requires an empty stomach condition. Anyone above 14 years can learn this practice. So with Jalaneti, there are a lot of videos online. So a lot of people learn this practice online. They'll see some video and they'll start doing it. But it is best, Sadhguru was mentioning, that you learn this practice effectively in a proper atmosphere from a trained teacher, because the way this practice has to be done, it looks very simple from outside. Okay, just the water is going from one nose to another nose, but it has to be imparted properly for it to be effective. And also the concentration of salt, the temperature of the water, the frequency of the practice, all these things, they need to be done in a certain way. So if you attend a program with one of the Hatha Yoga teachers nearest to you, they would be able to impart these practices in a proper way, rather than you learning it online from some source and not doing it properly. So please see if you can learn from a proper source and then practice this on a daily basis. And generally, as part of the program, they will also give you a copper Jalaneti pot which you can use for the daily practice. So that's something which is beneficial, just that you need to maintain this on a regular basis, because it's copper, so it requires some maintenance like cleaning, etc. Otherwise it gets oxidized. So that's something which you can take care of, the copper pot itself. So looking forward to hear from all of you. And also, let's see how we can amplify the Safe Soil journey, and look forward to seeing many of us turn up in the events, the offline events which are happening in India. So I'm looking forward to June 19th when he's coming to Bangalore. For those of you from other parts, you can see how you can make the event happen in your city in a big way. Try to invite as many people as you can and see what you can do to at least bring people to the event, because if they attend a in-person event, it makes a big difference in the way they receive it. Till now they would have been following the journey online, but if they attend an in-person event, it can definitely be very supportive for them to connect with this in a much deeper way. So please see how you can contribute. Namaskaram.